Hi, my name is Sierra Berry and I work for the Natural Resources Conservation Service here in Billings, Montana. As a kid, I loved digging holes in the yard and making mud pies. Working for the Natural Resources Conservation Service, I don't get to make quite as many mud pies, but I still get to play in the dirt a lot. Or what we should call soil. Here at the Natural Resources Conservation Service, it's our mission to help people help the land. That means we work with farmers and ranchers to make sure their land is healthy so they can support the health of their plants and animals. One of the main ways we do this is by taking care of the soil. So what is soil? Soil is a mix of sand, silt, clay, organic matter, air, and water, all of which provide room for soil microbes to move about in the soil. Let's take a deeper dive into how soils sustain life from our friends over at the Soil Science Society of America.
"2015 is the International Year of Soil." That's right, we're devoting this entire year to soil. But I'm here to tell you that soil, or what you may call dirt, is underappreciated. The Soil Science Society of America is helping to educate the public about the vital role that soil plays in human health. Let's start with the basics. Soil is one of the 4 things that we can't live without. Soil, water, air, and sunlight are all needed for life as we know it. Soil plays a role in providing our food, our clothing, and our shelter. Soil is a living resource that has formed at the surface of the earth over millions of years. Soils are dynamic, and they change with time. Their parent materials could be bedrock that's weathered in place, or sediments and smaller materials carried by flooding rivers, moving glaciers, or blowing winds. Over time, sun, water, wind, ice, and living things like plants and animals help transform the parent material into soil. Through the years, precipitation adds water to the soil, and dust and rocks add minerals. Plants and animals add organic matter and nutrients. But the water evaporates, and plants also remove nutrients from the soil. And soil particles can wash away in the rain or blow away in the wind. This is why soils are dynamic and changing with time. Soils are also full of life. Did you know there are more organisms in a teaspoon of soil than there are people on the planet? Soils have a partnership with the organisms that live in them. They each help to keep the other healthy. Soils, along with the organisms that live in soil, provide benefits to our planet. These benefits are called ecosystem services. For example, we grow our food in soil. The lumber and the bricks for our homes and many of the fibers for our clothing are grown in or come from soil. Most of our recreation involves using soil, whether it's a hike in the woods or a day at the beach. Half the world's population lives in houses made of soil. These types of ecosystem services are called provisioning services because the soil provides for us. Soil is a major contributor to cleaning our water through physical filtering systems and chemical and biological cleansing. Soil also stores carbon, keeping it from the atmosphere. Scientists are studying how this can help with climate change. These are called regulating ecosystem services because they help regulate our environment. Soil is a precious and limited natural resource. It provides for us and it regulates our world. We need to take care of it in return because soils sustain life.
Soils sustain life because they are living. There are vast amounts of living organisms within the soil, which is what makes it different than the dirt you might get on your jeans or track into the house. Let's go back to the Soil Science Society of America to see what they have to say about the life within soil.
Just dirt, right? There's nothing going on inside of it. The real story of soil is much different. Soil is a living, dynamic, natural resource. It helps us grow food, fiber, and fuel. But it doesn't do its job alone. Soil's home to more creatures than you'd believe. Have you ever seen a gopher dig a hole in the soil? What about burrowing owls or gopher tortoises? And moles live most of their life underground in the soil. These larger animals depend on soil for protection. They make their homes there. The soil protects them from weather and predators. And you've probably seen earthworms come out of the soil after a long rainstorm. Their homes were flooded. Earthworms are nature's plow. active in turning, mixing, and aerating the soil. The burrows of earthworms act like large pores that allow water from rain and melting snow to infiltrate into the soil, instead of running off and causing erosion. Ants are amazing creatures that live in soils. They make some awesome tunnels, with areas called chambers that act as living rooms and kitchens. Workers in ant colonies are constantly building their nests to accommodate their growing numbers. While they do this, they make pores in the soil that help plants get air and water for growing. But the greatest number of living creatures in soils are those you can't see with the human eye. Although small, the activity of these organisms is vital for life as we know it, and there are more microbes in one handful of soil than there are humans on the earth. Microbes, like bacteria and fungi, depend on soil for their homes, and they give back to the soil too. These microbes decompose organic matter in the soil, returning nutrients to the soil that plants can use. They aid in the weathering of rocks and minerals, which release important nutrients for plant growth. Microbes even live in root nodules found on some plants and help these plants process nitrogen to use as food. In return, the plant provides sugar to the microbes. What a happy relationship! From large to small, living creatures that depend on soil also return something to the soil. It's a beneficial relationship. This biodiversity of life in soil is critical to healthy soil and a healthy world. Humans need to respect the soils too, and the creatures that depend on them. They provide our food, our homes, and even our fun. Soils sustain life.
The next clip I'm going to show you is a video that we took from under a soil microscope that shows the microscopic life within the soil. You're going to see things like bacteria and protozoa, which are small organisms that move about within the soil. You'll also see things like amoebas, which are unicellular organisms that can actually change shape to absorb bacteria and eat them. You'll also see nematodes, which might just look like really tiny, fast-moving worms, but they actually have the ability to eat bacteria as well. We know that soil sustain life, so it's also important for us to know how we can sustain the health of the soil. We define soil health as the ability for soil to perform as a vital living ecosystem for plants and animals. This basically means that soil health is a measure of how well the soil is doing its job. Here at the Natural Resources Conservation Service, we make sure soil is doing its job by following the 5 principles of soil health. The first of those principles is soil armor. Soil armor is important because if we have stuff like leaves and grass covering the soil surface, then we're able to minimize issues such as erosion and from wind and water. Next is minimizing soil disturbance. This is really important because we want to make sure we maintain the soil structure, because that's one of the key ways that soil is able to perform its role as a vital living ecosystem. Next, we have plant diversity. This is one of my favorites. Plant diversity is important because the more diverse plants we have, the more diverse beneficial insects we might get. Also, the different nutrients that these plants will take up, so we're not leaving the soil depleted. Next is live roots in the soil. And as we all now know, having live roots in the soil is important for the variety of microorganisms that live within it. And lastly, but certainly not least, is livestock integration. This is important on both crop and rangeland because sometimes our soils may not have all the nutrients they need, and cow poop can be a way they can get it. Many farmers and ranchers already follow these practices, which is important because we depend on healthy soils to meet our agricultural goals. Now let's go back to the Soil Science Society of America one last time to learn just how soils support agriculture.
Soil is the ultimate source of nutrients that our bodies need. The vitamins and minerals that are a necessary part of our diet come from plants that have in turn gotten those same vitamins and minerals from the soil. We also get these nutrients indirectly by eating animals that have gotten them from eating plants that have gotten them from the soil. Let's look at calcium, for example. We all know that our bodies need calcium for healthy bones and teeth, right? Well, plants also need calcium to grow healthy leaves and roots. Plants use calcium for cell division and for getting other nutrients from the soil. We all know that dairy products are a great source of calcium, but what we may not know is that those dairy cows get their calcium from the plants they eat, and the plants get their calcium from the soil. Most soils have a large supply of nutrients, but soils get hungry over time, just like us. When soils are continually used to grow our food, calcium, magnesium, and other nutrients need to be replaced. Nutrients can come from organic material like compost, manure, and old plant residue, or from commercial fertilizers. And some plants like alfalfa can actually add nutrients back into the soil. Before growers add any fertilizers to their soils, they submit samples of the soil for laboratory testing so that they can establish the correct dose. Any doctor will tell you that the dosage is just as important as the kind of medicine. So consider this. Virtually everything in our diet, either directly or indirectly, comes from soil. That juicy burger you ate for lunch, the beef and cheese came from cows that eat plants that grew in soil. The onions, lettuce, and tomatoes grow in soil. And the wheat used to make the bun, it grew in soil too. Soil is the foundation of our agriculture and our food production. Not only is it a basic ingredient of life, it's a basic ingredient of our quality of life. When we take care of soil, we take care of ourselves.
Let's think about that. The healthier the soil, the healthier the plants, which means healthier animals, which leads to healthier food for you and me. It's like Jim said, when we take care of the soil, we take care of ourselves. We here at the Natural Resources Conservation Service hope you guys have all enjoyed learning a little bit about the importance of soil.